have no clue how this did not hit my stop loss. Guys, so we are in some EU longs. As I said, full transparency, this is the trade that we're in today. Look how close price got to our stop loss, right? Extremely close. Literally, if I actually go ahead and measure that, 0.4 pips, that's 4 pipettes. It was away from the stop loss, and miraculously, we've now started to push to the upside. I don't know if this trade is actually going to sustain. I have a feeling that we will probably get taken out at a stop loss. However, it's followed my plan. Therefore, I'm not going to exit early because there's no reason to. I'm going to wait for it to either hit my stop loss or my take profit. So let's see what happens. However, this looks like an absolutely great trade overall, right? We've had a perfect market structure shift. Price had come tapped in. Obviously, it went very deep into our stops, but luckily, they just got missed. Now, we've been in this trade we got entered right there. We've been in this trade for an hour and 45 minutes. So within this time, we've had a heart attack once, we've pushed back and gone into profit, and now we're pushing back into the red. So let's see what happens. We don't really have any major news or any catalyst that's going to catapult price today. So that means we are heavily just relying on whatever the market structure is. So let me actually show you what the overall structure of the market is. Now, this is everything that I had marked out yesterday, okay? So we've got the previous day's low down here. We've got a little bit of liquidity resting above it. And then we've got the previous day's high up there. Overall, we are bullish, therefore I'm looking for longs. And if we come down to the 15-minute time frame, the reason why I took this trade was if we look to the left, we've got this inverse fair value gap, which was the last point of supply before price catapulted to the upside. We had this massive push, which gave us all of this bullish momentum. Since then, price has very effectively pushed his way back down. And then we've tapped into that inverse fair value gap, that last point of supply. And then after we tapped into there, not only did we get a 5-minute market structure shift, right? We had lower low, lower high, lower low, market structure shift to the upside, higher high, higher low, and then the anticipation is that we continue higher. So not only did we have this 5-minute market structure shift, but we also, if we look at it like this, we had lower low, lower high, lower low, another market structure shift on the 15-minute time frame. So then the internal structure has broken bullish and the external structure has broken bullish after tapping into a higher time frame area of interest following the overall direction of the market, which is bullish. Therefore, this makes it a very valid setup. Now, we also took out the Asia range liquidity low. So we swept the Asia lows, tapped into that higher time frame area of interest, and then we done all of that. So that means, for me, this is now an A setup, not an A plus setup, because I would have liked to sweep liquidity, potentially the liquidity that we've got sat right there, maybe the previous day's low, and tapping into this hourly fair value gap. That would have been an A plus setup for me. However, we've done all of those things just on a micro level, right? We've swept internal range liquidity right here. We've also swept the Asia range low, and then we've done all of that. So that means this is an A setup for me. So let's see how it plays out. Like I said, win or lose, I'm going to keep you guys updated. So as you guys can see, I'm actually going to pop a screen recording right above here as well, just in case you can't see this clearly. You can see where I was entered. And if you look on my screen, it was entered right there. So the same area, you can see my stop loss, you can see my take profit. So it was all placed. We're in this trade. We've been in here for an hour and 45 minutes. Full transparency, I'm trying to give you guys a live look inside exactly how to be a full-time trader. So this is the trade that we've got on for today. So let's see if it plays out. If it doesn't, it doesn't. We had a great win yesterday. Hopefully this plays out and we can all be happy. Every single time you guys execute a trade, you have to understand that you've entered it after analyzing the market. That means before you executed that position, you saw something. You understood what the market was doing, or you pretended to understand what the market was doing, and then you executed a position based off of that perception. So when you took that trade, you pre-assumed your stop loss and you pre-assumed your take profit. That means you identified these key areas before you done anything, before you even executed any trades. So once you're in the trade, there is literally no need to mess around with anything. You don't need to move your stop losses around. You don't need to move your take profit around. You don't need to get scared if price goes into a little bit of drawdown. You don't need to get greedy or fearful if price starts running in profit and try and close early or extend your stop loss. None of that. Before you get into the trade, you do the hard work. You've analyzed, like I showed you at the beginning of this video, I analyzed why I was going to execute a position. Now, if this had gone and this had continued pushing and swept this low and took out my stop loss and I had lost money on this trade, I would have been fine with that. Because the market can do what the market wants to do. We are playing a statistical game. That means you know your win rate. You have an idea of how many times you win, how many times you lose. For me, my win rate sits between 60 and 70%. That means out of 10 trades, I know I'm going to win 6 to 7, and I know I'm going to lose 3 to 4. I don't know when those losses are going to come. They could come literally one after the other, one by one, or they could come scattered throughout. I could take 2 wins today, a loss tomorrow, another win, another loss. Who knows? We are playing a statistical game. That is why you have to have a trading plan, and you have to make sure that you follow that trading plan every single trade that you take. Because every single time you follow your plan, it shows, number one, you're capable of sticking to something. And number two, it shows that you're holding yourself accountable to only enter trades that meet the criteria. If you can do that, guaranteed you're going to be 80% ahead of 80% of people, because most people execute positions based off of emotions. Most people come into the market and they see 4 or 5 bearish candles like this, and then they go, you know what, that is going down, let me execute short. No, bro, what do you mean? Analyze the market, see what it's telling you, listen, understand, react. There is no need to sit around and pretend that your emotions are going to help you make money. They're not. They're going to make you lose money. And trust me, I know this. I've been trading for 6 years. So going back to the original point, which is every single time you get into a trade, do not panic if it goes into drawdown. Do not get fearful, greedy once it goes into profit. Let the trade play out. You've done the hard work before. Now sit back, watch, analyze, react. If price now turns around and tells you it no longer wants to go higher and it keeps failing to break this high, and then you go down to the lower time frames and it gives you a market structure shift telling you it wants to go lower, get out of that position. Same way I did in yesterday's trade, yesterday's live trade. I done that in real time. I showed you what I wanted price to do. It didn't do that. It went the opposite way, and I said if it goes the opposite way, I'm going to exit. What did I do? I exited. What happened to that trade? If I hadn't exited, it would have gone to my stop loss. Listen, understand, react. Simple. Right, guys, so it's not looking good on EURUSD. We have pushed a little bit deeper into the red. However, what I did miss was on the 5-minute, we do have this last fair value gap, which is the last point of demand now that I can see. Apart from that, right, we can utilize this entire candle that we've got at the moment as the area that, number one, swept internal liquidity. So if I mark this out, so we had the sweep of that internal liquidity from this candle, and then we've had this breaker structure internally to the upside. So we'll see that a little bit better on the lower time frames. So now this is essentially the last point of demand. If this doesn't hold, that's it. The trade is hitting a stop loss. That is perfectly fine. So we have just tapped into that fair value gap, had a little reaction, but we're continuing with that bearish momentum. So I can anticipate that price will probably take us out, and that is fine. But this is what I'm anticipating. And since then, we've had a little reaction, but I don't feel like this reaction is going to sustain, just because we had this bullish momentum to the upside, and then it got completely taken out by this bearish doji candle. Now, we're just going to have to wait and see what happens, but I have an inkling that we're probably going to go and hit the stop loss. But it is what it is. I am going to go hit the gym. If anything happens, any updates, I'll probably just record my screen as I did yesterday. So I'll keep you guys updated. But I still have hope that even though we've been chopping around, how long have we been in this trade for now? We've been in this trade for 3 hours and 25 minutes, exactly the same as yesterday. Well, yesterday it was like 7 hours, so hopefully it doesn't drag on for that long. But this trade has gone on for a while now, but because we haven't broken this low yet, because this is our literal last point of demand, because we haven't broken this low yet, I'm firm in believing that we can continue to the upside. Now, in order for us to confirm the bullish trend, we need a break of this wick right here. We whip the liquidity above, push back down, Potentially, we're going to tap into the extreme, which is right here, and then from here we push higher, but who knows, right? Right, guys, so here we are at the end of the day, and what an unfortunate end to the day it is. We literally got taken out on EURUSD by a couple pips. Let's actually figure out how many pips this was. And this was a grand total of nearly 2 pips that we got taken out by, and then price decided to run straight to the take profit. Now, this is completely my fault. I hold my hands up. As you can see, I had my stop loss just below this low right here because I thought if we break below that low, more than likely we're going to push to the downside. Instead, what ended up happening is price swept that low and then it just swept the previous low as well. As you can see, if we had just covered directly below it, that got swept by literally, that looks like a literal pipette. So if I had just covered that low and then maybe gave it a little bit of breathing room, maybe 16 points just like that, it would have missed my stop loss and then it would have gone to the take profit. So again, completely my fault and I understand where I went wrong. So it's good to always come to your trades at the end of the day, journal them and figure out what went wrong, what you could have done better and what you're not going to do tomorrow to make yourself a better trader. So in this trade, I again hold my hands up. I know that I should have covered this low. I didn't. I paid the price for it and it went and hit our stop loss before then running to the take profit. So overall, this was a great trade. And as I said, the analysis played out perfectly. We went ahead and took out the previous day's high. And not only that, but we've also put in a brand new high as well, which means, again, we've continued with the overall bullishness of the market, which is the entire reason why we took this trade, as we anticipated that to be the pivot low, the higher low, and then now we've just set in a higher high. So, like I said, an unfortunate end to the day, but with these things, like I said, it is statistical and you're at the mercy of the markets. At the end of the day, the price could have just swept this low and it could have continued, or it could have just continued from here. It didn't, chose to come down, took me out. So be it. I should have covered the low, should have gave it some breathing room. So I know what I'm not going to do tomorrow to make myself a better trader. So overall, it's a loss for the day. We've lost, I believe it's just, I'm going to put a screenshot just above my head of what the actual loss was. So I think it's less than a grand that I lost today. And that is pretty good considering that this trade went to take profit. So overall, not the worst thing in the world. If you don't laugh about it, you'll end up crying. So we've always got another day tomorrow. We're going to come back stronger. We're going to make the money back and we're going to make sure that we get EU back because it done us super, super dirty today. So on that note, guys, if you did enjoy this video, then please don't forget to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. But on that note, I'll catch you guys in the next video.